Elderton was a quaint, picturesque town, where the sun shone eternally bright and the sound of laughter filled the air, masking the darkness that lay just beneath the surface. It was in this idyllic setting that Leela Harrington emerged, a vision of beauty and charm that captivated everyone in her orbit. With long, flowing tresses akin to silken chocolate, cascading down her back and eyes, so green they resembled emeralds, she was the embodiment of allure. Her perfect skin glowed with an unnatural radiance, and her smile, bright and engaging, had a way of disarming even the most cautious souls. Leela was known for her philanthropic endeavors, organizing charity events that drew the community together. At each gathering, she fluttered like a butterfly among the guests, her laughter infectious, her words honeyed. The townsfolk adored her, seeing her as a beacon of light in a world already filled with shadows. Yet, as the warm days of summer unfolded, an undercurrent of suspicion began to weave its way through the community, one that revolved around the recent disappearances of several young women. The first to vanish was Sarah Miller, a beloved schoolteacher with dreams as bright as her smile. Sarah had last been seen leaving one of Lila's soirees, her absence quickly noticed but initially brushed off as a temporary fluke. After all, it was not uncommon for excitement to sweep through small towns, leading residents to momentarily forget their daily routines during warmer months. Still, whispers of concern swirled amongst the townspeople, especially in the wake of another mysterious disappearance just weeks later. Detective Mark Connors, a seasoned investigator with sharp intuition and a keen eye for detail, found himself pulled into the darker currents of Elderton. He had a feeling that Leila, with her perfect veneer and uncanny charm, might be more than just a delightful socialite. As he plunged into the investigation, he was struck by the dissonance between Lila's radiant entrance and the chilling narrative surrounding her. Perhaps it was her enchanting demeanor that kept the townsfolk convinced of her innocence. Mark first met Lila at a community fundraiser, where she floated from table to table, her laughter spilling into the air like music. Her beauty was disarming, yet beneath the surface, he could sense a veiled tension, a flicker of darkness that made him question everything he had witnessed. While marking suspects in his mind, he couldn't shake the thought, could the killer be the very heart of the town itself, dressed in the enchanting guise of a beautiful woman? Determined to decode the enigma that was Lila, Mark observed her interactions. She dismissed flattery effortlessly, collecting compliments as easily as she gathered donations for her charities. That there was something in her azure gaze, a flicker of something deeper that he couldn't quite place. As he began to piece together the timeline of Sarah's disappearance, he noticed that several other women had crossed Lila's path in recent events. Each had a story marked by charm and laughter, but their endings were sinister, freezing remnants in the fading warmth of summer. Yet, as suspicion began to cloud the once clear waters of admiration, Lila's charm only seemed to grow. With every compliment, every gesture of kindness she extended, she drew the community further into her world, effectively clouding their perceptions. Perhaps it was a carefully cultivated facade designed to deflect any scrutiny away from her. A living, breathing distraction. Then came the night it all changed. Detective Connors received an urgent tip from an anonymous source, hinting at Layla's disturbing past. That very night, he decided to confront deep-rooted fears and realities, venturing into the heart of the mystery in which her beauty had become entangled. The pulse of the town quickened as Mark walked the familiar streets, his heels echoing eerily against the cobbled paths. He couldn't help but feel the weight of Lila's charm pressing heavily upon him, even as the spectre of the missing women loomed large. What he unearthed next would turn his world upside down. Delving deeper into Lila's life, Detective Connors began to unravel a narrative starkly different from the charming facade she projected. He unearthed police records that chronicled a troubled childhood filled with loneliness and shadows. Lila's mother had struggled with addiction, often leaving her alone for days at a time. The connection between her past and the mesmerizing woman who smiled so brightly now appeared more intricate than he initially perceived. As he pieced together the fragments of her history, Leela revealed another side when he conversed with former neighbors and childhood friends. They recalled instances of jealousy and spite hidden beneath her radiant exterior. A woman once incensed over a lost friendship recounted how Lila had schemed her way into winning people's affections, effectively becoming the center of attention at every gathering. The charm that captivated residents was accompanied by a tinge of manipulation that was subtly sinister. Determined to gain access to Lila's world, Mark arranged to meet her under the pretense of wanting to help with one of her charity events. As the evening unfolded, he noticed how effortlessly she commanded the room. With every smile, every touch, she turned hearts to liquid, a dangerous game that kept her secrets concealed. Yet, as Mark engaged her in conversation, he caught a glimpse of something sharp and cunning behind her striking eyes, as if she were aware of the tension brewing beneath the surface and relished the game of cat and mouse it had become. A few days later, another woman, Jessica, went missing. Mark's apprehension grew, intertwining with feelings of disillusionment toward the very beauty that had charmed him. Memories of Lila's laughter haunted him, and he immersed himself in the mounting evidence that chained the unsettling trail of disappearances to her. As he gathered statements from distressed families, the tapestry of fear and uncertainty only tightened, casting a long shadow over the once idyllic town. At the heart of his investigation lay Lila. A twist of fate had placed her in the center of a diabolical storm, and her striking features became a curtain hiding a darker truth. As he meticulously connected the dots, evidence began to surface that revealed the questionable relationships Lila had with each of the women who had gone missing. One interview stood out, a conversation with Jessica's best friend, who disclosed a peculiar last encounter where Lila had attempted to befriend Jessica at a party. I warned her to stay away. There was something unsettling about Lila. It was as though everyone was enchanted by her beauty, but I just couldn't shake the feeling that it was a mask. As those haunting words echoed in his mind, Mark couldn't help but feel an undeniable pull towards Lila. Here was a woman who wore her charm like a shield, deflecting the hardest questions while drawing everyone in with her allure. Yet beneath that outer layer lay cracks of instability that portrayed her as both beautiful and dangerously unpredictable. Finally, Mark obtained an invite to Lila's next lavish gathering, a masquerade ball that promised an evening of opulence and mystery. With resolve and foreboding, he prepared to confront her amidst the throngs of elegantly masked attendees. The night felt electric with anticipation, as Mark donned his own mask, a symbolic representation of the layers they would peel back together. As spirits soared and laughter reached a crescendo, Mark observed Lila glide through rooms like an ethereal spirit, her gown flowing behind her like water. Yet behind every gaze that followed her, Mark felt the chilling weight of the missing women, their laughter silenced, creating a haunting backdrop to the glimmering beauty of the night. In the fragmented whispers among guests, he felt the tension rise and the sentiment of curiosity swell. Everything in Layla's world felt orchestrated, calculated to divert attention from the chilling truths seeping beneath the surface. Determined, Mark moved through the crowd, seeking the perfect moment to engage her in genuine conversation, without drawing suspicion. The crescendo of music filled the air as he found Lila standing alone on a balcony, the night sky holding a million stars captive. Mark approached, subtly turning the conversation to the missing women, weaving legitimate interest with fabricated admiration. He saw a flicker of something in her eyes. Was it fear that she had been discovered, or the thrill of control that came with her deceit? Leela, you know, Mark began, allowing the smooth edges of his voice to wrap around her. You have a way of bringing people together. It's magical, really. but I can't help but feel something darker is at play." Her response was quick, her smile enchanting, yet holding an edge of something sharp. "Oh, detective, you do have a flair for the dramatic. I assure you, the only thing lurking here is the occasional ghost of a past affiliation or two. Nothing more sinister. Perhaps just misplaced sentiments." Each word dripped with a seductive quality, drawing Mark further into the depths of her riddle. Yet, beneath him the landscape felt rugged, lined with paths that led to uncertainty. And as night turned to dawn, secrets whispered through the cool air. Darker truths unsettlingly close, waiting to be exposed. As the dawn light spilled into Elderton, it heralded a new chapter in the investigation. The masquerade ball lingered in Mark's mind, a bitter contrast between the beauty of Lila and the horror enveloping the town. He felt the walls around her, carefully structured identity tightening, teetering on the brink of collapse, and soon the weight of the truth threatened to be unleashed. In the days following the ball, the pressure mounted. Mark had collected enough threads to weave a truth that was increasingly chilling, one that revealed Lila's calculated nature, her ability to charm and deceive so many, all while keeping her true self cloaked in glamour. It was time to confront her directly. One evening, Mark set up a meeting with Lila, inviting her under the pretense of discussing alcove a promise she had made to support a local children's charity. As he entered her stunning home, the walls adorned with exquisite art and the air thick with the fragrance of fresh blooms, tension coiled around him like the vines on the trellises outside. "Thank you for coming, Mark," Lila greeted him with that ever-captivating smile. "I think your intention for alcove is nothing short of spectacular." He nodded, subtly observing her every movement. Standing gracefully in a flowing gown that draped around her as though she were a goddess, she appeared completely disarming, yet Mark felt the sensation of a predator among the prey. "Lila, I'd like to discuss the recent disappearances," he began, his voice steady despite the rising storm inside. "The police have gathered some alarming evidence, and I think it's important that you know." A flicker of unease crossed her features, momentarily betraying her composure. "Evidence?" she echoed, her laugh tinged with confusion. "Oh, dear, we all know how rumors spread in small towns. Surely you can't allow the whispers to cloud your judgment. Some of us have a reputation to uphold." Mark leaned closer, intensifying the scrutiny in his gaze. "Your reputation, yes. But those whispers grow louder with every missing woman. Lila, I can't help but feel it all connects to you somehow. What are you insinuating?" Her voice turned icy, but the fire in her eyes hinted at something else entirely. A flicker of anger, welling beneath that fabricated veneer. The mask she wore was slipping ever so slightly, revealing cracks of desperation. The tension crackled between them, a discordance that echoed with the chaos of unsaid truths. "You need to understand, Lila. This isn't just about you anymore. It's about lives lost, families torn apart, and the chill of death that has gripped this community. You must realize, truth always finds a way to surface." The chilling silence that followed your own revelation felt oppressive. Each second stretched taut like the strings of a bow straining to take aim. In that moment, Lila's beauty morphed, revealing vulnerability intertwined with ferocity. "Do you think you know me? You have no idea what lies beneath the surface, Mark." Mark took a careful step back, cognizant of the boiling emotions swirling within her. This was the moment he had prepared for. He needed to unveil the true Lila, the intricate layers of deception peeling away like delicate petals in the wind. But just then, Lila composed herself again, her beauty once more enchanting, a mask carefully placed where the storm had raged. "Only you can prevent the heartache, Mark. You're more than just a detective. You are a guardian." And yet, her words dripped with a dangerous allure. "You plan to drag me into your ugliest characterization, a beautiful woman ensnared by societal expectations. You can't imprison a heart that dares to escape into the wild." Mark could almost see pieces of her world colliding, an internal struggle manifesting behind those entrancing green eyes. Was she a victim? Or was she the architect of the very chaos around them? Just as he prepared for his final gambit, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The door slammed open as a frantic neighbor burst into the room, introducing panic and chaos that enveloped them. The news spread like wildfire. Another body had been found, the latest victim resurfacing from the water's edge under a blanket of fog. Instinct kicked in. Mark's professional demeanor transformed him into action, even as Lila stood frozen in shock amidst the swirling tempest of emotion. "It's too late, isn't it?" she whispered, a tremor threading through her voice. The moonlight cast a silver sheen over the lake, illuminating the pain and despair in her eyes. Layla had fought valiantly against the darkness, only to find herself standing before the bitter truth. The weight of loss settled heavily on her chest, and for the first time since the chaos erupted, she felt utterly lost. Mark's deep-set eyes, usually filled with determination, softened as he regarded Lila. "Not yet," he said quietly, clenching his jaw. "We can still find out who did this. Jessica deserves justice, and you deserve closure." He placed a firm yet gentle hand on her shoulder, anchoring her in the storm of emotions swirling around them. The officers continued their work, overlaying the scene with the meticulous care required by their craft. But for Layla, the world had narrowed to this moment, this flicker of hope in the shadows of despair. "But what if we can't?" Lila's voice cracked, vulnerability spilling from her like an open wound. "What if her killer gets away? What if I didn't do enough?" The howling wind seemed to echo her fears, wrapping around her with icy tendrils. "Then we fight harder," Mark replied, his voice unwavering. "You and me, together." He'd seen her strength through every ordeal, and while she now felt like a ghost of her former self, he believed she could rise from the ashes of this tragedy. "You're not alone in this." After a lingering moment of silence, Lila clenched her fists, determination rekindling in her heart. The memories of her friendship with Jessica coursed through her like a river of fire. They had shared dreams, laughter, and resilience. It was time to honor that bond. She took a deep breath, letting the cool night air fill her lungs, and pushed away the despair that threatened to consume her. "Okay," she said, her voice steadier now, laced with a newfound resolve. "Let's do this." As they made their way back to where the investigation was unfolding, Mark briefed her on the pieces they had gathered. This wasn't just about Jessica anymore. It was about dismantling the darkness that lurked in their town, threatening to snuff out the light of too many lives. Days turned into a whirlwind of leads, interviews, and late-night brainstorming sessions. With each passing moment, Layla transformed from a grieving friend into a fierce advocate for justice. She delved into Jessica's life, sifting through interpersonal connections, social media breadcrumbs, and hidden secrets. Mark, ever by her side, guided her through the labyrinth of their small-town psyche. Their investigation didn't come without its stumbling blocks. They faced opposition from those reluctant to talk and whispers of intimidation from shadows, lingering in the corners. But with every obstacle, their resolve strengthened. Layla learned to navigate through her own pain, using it as fuel to drive her purpose. Finally, a breakthrough arrived. A midnight of the night Jessica died, friends had seen a figure lurking by the lake. Piecing together fragmented stories, they identified a suspect. Someone with a previous record, a man who had always blended into the background of their community. It had felt too familiar, the sort of person who could slip through the cracks unnoticed. Mark and Lila found themselves in an emotionally charged confrontation that echoed the very essence of their journey. Outside the makeshift interrogation room, Mark's presence reassured her. "You control this," he whispered just before they entered, his voice calm like the quiet before a storm. "This is your story." As they faced the suspect, Leela felt the weight of Jessica's memory at her back, bolstering her resolve. She asked questions, her voice steady, each word a testament to her commitment to uncover the truth. The man's facade began to crack under the pressure of her tenacity. With a mix of fear and arrogance, he spun a web of lies. Yet Leela saw through the deceit. Her conviction burned bright, drawing out details that he hoped to bury. At that moment, the pieces finally snapped together like a jigsaw puzzle. She could see it all: the manipulation, the cowardice, the betrayal. With every answered question, she felt closer to Jessica, closing the gaping wound of loss with each revelation. "We know what happened that night," Leela pressed, locking eyes with the suspect. "And we won't let you get away with it." In the aftermath, as the weight of justice bore down on the man who had shattered so many lives, Leela stood up straighter, a sense of peace slowly settling over her chaotic heart. Though Jessica was gone, her spirit pulsed through Leela, urging her to keep fighting. In the weeks that followed, as feelings of sorrow mingled with calm acceptance, Leela and Mark cemented their bond, not as just a detective and confidant, but as partners forged in the fires of tragedy. With shared laughter over coffee, late-night conversations about hopes and dreams, and a shared mission to restore the brightness to their community, they emerged as a powerful team, dedicated to championing the voices that had been silenced. Together, they volunteered to support initiatives that honored Jessica's memory, promoting awareness and prevention for the very dangers she had faced. Leela tapped into her creativity, pouring her emotions into art that told Jessica's story, sparking conversations and empowering others who had walked similar paths. As winter melted into spring, life began to breathe anew. The lake shimmered with life once more, families returning to its shores, laughing, playing a stark contrast to the darkness that had enveloped it just months before. Leela often found herself visiting the water's edge, holding on to the memories while letting go of the grief in her heart. In every sunrise, she saw hope. In every sunset, a reminder of resilience. And in her heart, a promise she would live fully, for herself and for Jessica, holding on to the legacy of their friendship as they both navigated the complexities of life beyond the pain. "It's never truly too late," Leela whispered to the winds one sunny afternoon, offering her words up to the sky, where she felt Jessica's spirit dancing in the breeze. "No," Mark answered from beside her, his hand clasping hers. "It's just the beginning." As they looked toward the horizon, filled with vibrant hues of possibility, Leela knew the journey ahead was uncertain. But it wouldn't be lonely. Together, they would tread the waters of hope, forever guiding each other when shadows threatened to return.